Hello, this is Mike here with the Amish of Ethridge and Amish and Mennonite of Tennessee pages. Now, a lot of people are asking us, what is the difference between our two courses? Now, there's going to be more. There's, ironically, the Plainest Tennessee Road Trip is actually number 2 in our series, okay? It's just that I haven't got the first one or the third one done, but categorically, in my head anyway, that's where they sit. Now, the complete guide to visiting the Amish of Ethridge is just an add-on because it happens to be that since it's the largest community in the South, as far as the Amish are concerned, it just happens to be in a place that is so interesting to a lot of people. And it's between Rocket City and Huntsville and Nashville, which is Music City. So you have the Shoals studio tours. You have a lot of the kind of a missile type stuff, that's and there's a lot of things in Huntsville, especially Space Force and all this different things with the NASA program, and that is making it kind of a go-to location. Now, there's a lot of things that are really interesting about the Huntsville area and Nashville. There's no other places kind of like it in pretty much the North American continent, if you know what I'm saying. So when people find out they can come here and they can see like presidential homes, just north of us is James K. Polk. On the way to here is Andrew Jackson's place. I mean, it's more interesting to people who take kind of an extended vacation that wants to go see places that you're not going to typically see just anywhere. So we really go into that in the Ethridge course. Now, on the other side, where we have the Plainest Tennessee Road Trip, now that's going to have the ability to teach you a template by which you could pretty much take road trips the rest of your life. The reason I made that course, and it's 20-something hours long as of recording. Now, I will be updating it whenever I get things. We'll have what they call an extra video in the lesson. There might be a few of them, depending on when you see them. Okay, so it will be getting better, but it's a one-time purchase for both courses. Now, the road trip video was that I kept seeing these guides. I would see blog posts, and a lot of this like cross-country stuff, primarily for RVers. I felt like there was this missing market that sort of combined all of these things, and as a tourism professional, I said, instead of getting a guide, instead of making just a self-help tip listicle, on a blog post or something, I wanted to make an official course, all right? I basically divested my entire mind and memory and research to making a course because so many times people have went on road trips and it didn't work out for them. So I didn't want that to happen. So and a lot of people were going to have a road trip to here as far as Ethridge, So I left a lot of Ethridge out of the road course and I included a lot of Mennonite. It happens to be that we do have some Mennonite close to us, you know what I mean? But we're primarily, well, let's just face it. The Ethridge community has about 2,600 people in it, so that's pretty much more than all of the Mennonite and Amish in the rest of the state. So people primarily come to see, at the moment, it's about 330 Amish homes here. There's just a lot. There's wagon tours. You can get a little map and go into the community and all that sort of thing. And once you stay here, there's a lot of interesting places to stay in Ethridge. Contrast, it's not really the same in the rest of the state. So this is going to be going to see other points of interest. We happen to be known that Tennessee whiskey and the whiskey tours, of course, Kentucky bourbon, those two places, those two states, I should say, pretty much provide the world's capacity of liquor. It happens to be, and I don't drink, so I don't really care about or I personally don't partake in the alcohol part of it, but the heritage of growing the crops, a very distinct agricultural supply chain that goes into making these particular spirits happens to be something I do enjoy. I like teaching my daughter about the agricultural system and supply chain management of the spirit distillation process. It has a lot of chemistry, all that sort of thing. So I do actually show a lot of these things in the more road trip, or talk about them more in the road trip section, where you're not going to get that as much in the Ethridge course. Certain things happen to be almost identical no matter where you go. I'm going to say, if you've taken my courses, you know this. I'm going to talk about these little guys here. And when it comes to taking a pen and paper and handwriting a note, now that comes back later once you get done with both courses. It happens to be that I talk about chronicling your vacation. That's where you're going to take your handwritten notes, and you're going to take your phone and you're going to take a picture. You're going to send each member that goes with you on this road trip thing, or if you come to see Ethridge, so that you can have it for later. We'll talk about storing them on a computer and or some kind of thumb drive or something like that, multiplying it by the people who went with you so they can have your notes as well. And it's just because one day your kids are going to want to say, if they look back on some of this is the year they went to see the Amish, or this is the year we went on this road trip, you know what I mean? And it was so fun. You know, we had a ball. Here's my mom's handwriting. She handwrit all of this because she took this course from this bearded guy in a funny hat. So anyway, so I think that is something that would make, how do I say it? And I don't script any of this stuff. I'm looking at a camera, you know what I mean? It's just reflecting an image of me because I've got a teleprompter, but I'm not using the teleprompter section. I'm just seeing myself. So when I say things, I really do mean them. It's something that means a lot to me. So whenever you do take one of our courses and you start learning about me, every single one of those sections, and sometimes I cry in the middle of it because I'm talking about the NICU experience and stuff that I had. And all of those are going to be a little bit different. It's tailored to every course. I don't mean to do some of the more emotional stuff, but let's face it, I'm not going to edit it out because I want to be real to you. I want to be so legitimizing to you that you say, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I do. I've been doing this since 2010 at a professional level. My parents happen to be, I guess, middle class, but my grandparents on my dad's side, my grandpa was in a, and I tell the story for a reason. He was in a train that derailed, and he didn't sue the company or nothing, so they always kind of moved him up the ladder to where he made quite a bit more, and they would give my parents money to go take us on trips. And unfortunately, they went to see family most of the time. We didn't really go to a lot of places, so they went to stay with other people. And I always said, I would love for this to be better. I would love to know that you can make a road trip better than just going to see family. So a lot of this stuff in the road trip section isn't me trying to sound like a professional. It's me talking from the heart, guys. You know what I mean? And I've had people that when I'd go with other folks, some friends of mine, and they were chart people. You know, they were like, at 8 a.m. we're going to do this. At 9:30 we're going to do this. Why? Oh, because I want to. So you were really along for the ride, and that drove me crazy. I was like, what? So when it came time for me to get old enough to start having my own road trips, I said, I'm going to do something different. I still work for the same engineering company as a day job, but when it came time for me to travel, I had to really kind of rethink how to travel. I didn't want to copy and paste from my upbringing and what I was used to. I wanted my own system. So once I entered my 20s and started making the money necessarily to go to these places and stay at resorts, all that sort of thing, I was kind of, I guess, I started seeing this for what it is, that there was all these different possibilities. Well, how do you make your mind up, So that by the time I got into my 30s and became a tourism professional, it kind of combined a lot of these places. And that's why the two courses are separate, all right? So if you say I want to buy the Ethridge course so I don't need the road trip course, that's not true. If you're going to go see Ethridge, definitely get that particular course. If you want to combine your road trip with Ethridge, by all means buy both courses, okay? There's no better way. You're going to have like 60 hours worth of instruction. It might be a little bit much for a lot of people. So I understand that. At the same time, I work hard for my money. So you're getting somebody's opinion that has seen it played out through a lot of different people. Also, when it comes to international travel, a lot of things that taught me about international travel was the Ethridge community. In one weekend, I met 4 separate couples from the country of Sweden. Yeah, like the state of Georgia probably has more people than the country of Sweden. It's just that when you look at it from the standpoint of it being between the two major tourism-based cities like Nashville and Huntsville, it got to where I started understanding why people travel, what some of their blocks are, you know what I mean, obstacles, if you will, and how a good manager of a tourism-based channels like this was to remove those obstacles so that you can free up resources. And a lot of our resources in our mind, we talk ourselves out of more than we talk ourselves into sometimes. And I don't want that to happen. I want you to go on a really good vacation to Ethridge, Tennessee, but if you're on a road trip, it's going to be highly motivated over here on this other side to really learn how to take a road trip successfully, okay? That's going to be picking your people that's going to go with you, what roles they have, talk about how to find destinations that's good with your team. You know what I mean? I tell you people say I do this for the money. I actually don't. I would prefer one person in your team to buy the course and then just invite your other people with you to come over, say every Tuesday night, and watch the course. That means if there's 6 people going and there's one course buyer, you see what I'm saying? That means 5 other people got to take the course for free. All right? I would prefer that, okay, with both of these courses. That way they don't have to all buy their own copy. That way everybody kind of gets on the same one page, and it increases your friendliness. It increases your ability to what I call create a face look account. You know, we talk about Facebook, but if you see somebody in person and they're friends with you, friends enough to where you want to take them on a road trip to either Ethridge or on this other road trip type thing, then obviously they mean enough to you to want to spend time with you. And let them get the dinner. Say, hey, one day make them or have them, ask them, okay, to bring, say, KFC chicken or a bunch of stuff from Taco Bell or just whatever food you guys have in common. Talk about it and say, okay, I'll provide the course and the living room. We'll put this on a television. All of these are shot in 4K. And what we do is watch that. We take notes. We go back to our little steno notebook, and we're like, that's a really good question. My homework this week is this. And we took the budget guide, and if we start saving in 10 months, we'll be able to go on this thing and stay at the good places. And we're like, yes, we'll all do this. And I show you all of that sort of thing in the road trip course. So I want that to be something that you kind of think about. And then when it comes time to actually go, both courses, now listen carefully, both of these courses are going to have the same kind of, this is a joke book, basically for kids, but you're going to have all the resources that we have. And of course, one of the best ones that seem to be the most popular is a certificate of completion. Of course, once you take the course, the person that bought the course has this certification. However, I give you a guide so that if you brought your kids with you, you can give them tasks, you know what I mean? Whether it be coloring some coloring books in here, or filling out a budget guide, or completing your snack list. When you get back home, you can print them off a certificate and to show show everybody, on Facebook or something, that you took this particular course, and you can make them up for all your friends, print off as many as you want, all that sort of thing. So if you've got a family, because I really, really, really want to include more family travel. So many times we're from split families and divorced families and all that sort of thing, and I get that. And there's a lot of times where split families bring other kids in to commingle with other people's kids. And of course, they're not always there because of situations. We all get that. But a good road trip with all of you together tends to find that there's a little bit more cohesion in that relationship if you can kind of go do something fun together and play road games and I Spy, and everybody kind of has to have a participation. I go through all of this in primarily the road trip course, all right? So all that sort of thing. Now, some people, they've asked, why do you keep changing outfits? And I'll say the same outfit is for each course, all right? So however, if you watch some of my other stuff, I do change my suits. Some of my courses are quite heady. They're collegiate level, all right? I get that. That's not for everybody here. So some of that's just me being who I am. The reason why in my road trip course I wear this particular outfit with the hat is because it looks travel friendly. It looks like something casual. You put on your hat, it means when you get out, it protects you from the sun. I don't wear sunglasses because it would look like you would look quintessential traveling man when you start doing that, or woman, I guess. In that case, it's whatever you are, traveling person. But I don't want to wear sunglasses here in the studio. Obviously, it would look really wrong. Now, in my Ethridge course, I wear this particular hat and this particular linen shirt. Now, of course, I mention in both courses what to wear when you go see the plain people. Because if you look like you came from the swimming pool, well, they're probably not going to let you... they're probably not going to let you in, okay? If there's too much skin showing, it offends all the Anabaptist groups, okay? I'm just going to say it like that. If you come on Sunday, they're not going to serve you. If you, in a lot of places, just show up with a debit card, they can't take it, okay? So there's a lot of stuff that I teach you in both courses about the Anabaptist movement, all their history, why they call the Swartz and Truber Amish community here in Ethridge. Well, there's a reason. I go through that primarily in the Ethridge course, but I do touch on it in the other course. So if you do find that you bought both courses, you're going to have a slightly different interpretation of that. Where in the road trip course, I talk about the differences between the Mennonite and the Amish because you're going to be seeing a lot more Mennonite. However, I do explain a lot more of the Amish lineages, so to speak, their affiliations, and how they go through. And I know a lot of people, they hear it, but then they say, you're really meaning colonization. It's like, kind of in a way, yes. They have an affiliation and a church district and all that sort of thing. I explain more of that sort of thing in the Ethridge course. But the reason I do change clothes or change outfit is to show the difference. In the Ethridge course, I do wear the linen the whole time with this particular hat. It's the same series of hats, actually. They're Stetson Andovers. Now, I also put the Amish hat here. There's actually, on our YouTube page, is an Amish guide to hats. Or these things they're absolutely terrible to wear, but they're very cheap. And of course, I show the Amish dolls. So a lot of people say, well, why don't you do more with the Mennonite? Well, the Mennonite have a little bit more internal faith system. It's more them. They're not going to wear a hat per se, and they're not going to have a doll. They're not going to have as many rule-based things because it's more internally perceived, as their faith is more of an inward than an outward expression. So you're going to find gospel tracts usually at a Mennonite community, where you wouldn't really find that with an Amish community, all that sort of thing. So the Amish way of thinking is different than the Mennonite way of thinking, even though both of them are Anabaptist. Okay, and I explain that term. I explain it in both of these courses. You're going to get a really good course in either way you go. But I will say, if you're going to include Ethridge in a road trip, you do need both courses. That way you are very well educated, very well informed. You understand cultural issues really good, because I show a lot of myths. I do break a whole lot of myths in the Ethridge course. I don't really do it as much in the road trip course because, I don't know, I'm just flipping over this globe. If you're going from Dallas to Memphis or something like that, and you want to know what's between there, you can do that with the road trip course. The Ethridge course is almost irrelevant. However, there is a road trip element within the Ethridge course. Now pay attention to this real carefully. There's only one Muscle Shoals. This is where tons of hits came out of. You can tour these studios, okay? All of those studios that you recognize from the hits of the past, and even today, I'm friends with some of those producers. They're still producing hits. These are working studios, okay? So, but you can go visit them. They do have a tour where you can get on and go. Keep in mind also that there's only one Rocket City. I know you got Cape Canaveral and all that sort of thing, but it's just not the same as Huntsville, Alabama. I think here recently, a lot of political stuff has happened where Huntsville's going to be given the Space Force kind of stuff. Now, keep in mind at Marshall Flight Center, this is also where Blue Origin, a lot of SpaceX stuff. Now, you're not going to be able to tour that ever, okay? I have friends at the Arsenal. They can't even get in. So it's a gate within a gate within a gate, okay? So that's where you're going to really find that there's a lot of things going on in Huntsville. But there's a lot of genetics, research, just a whole lot of stuff going on in Huntsville. But this is also where you're going to find like Helen Keller's place. There's just so many, the blues angle with W.C. Handy. This is where just so many things to do is in the Florence Hunts, or sort of from Florence, Alabama through Muscle Shoals to Huntsville. There's just a lot of things right through there, and it's only like 45 minutes from here to go to Florence and get on that little trail that goes across. So a lot of Native American history also. So I feel that if you want to take that trek, and then of course up to Nashville, it's only an hour and a half from here. You can stay, see the Amish in the morning, take a day trip. I teach a method, what's called the, how do I say? I say it's the lasso method. And then I talk about a resume method. Now, I talk about them in both courses, primarily in different ways, so that it kind of tailors to the course that it's in, where I talk about where you are in relation to where you can make a small road trip out of. So both of them have a road trip element, but if you're going to take one from states away, that's where the road trip, or Plainest Tennessee Road Trip, kind of really shines, okay? So that's going to be the biggest thing. So I think that both of them kind of have a thing. And I think I'm about the only one that teaches this. I haven't found a guide yet. I'm sure most people will steal everything I say to put in their own guides later. Now, they're probably not going to make a whole course out of it, you know what I mean, like I did. However, there's going to be a lot of people that make a something like that after I release my course, because people steal like crazy. However, I did not steal anything. This is all stuff I've been teaching for years and years and years. Now, there's some concepts we all share, because let's face it, a car is the same. There's just a lot of these guides where we talk about budgeting. That's all been the same. I used to teach the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University courses at a church. So I'm used to talking about budgetary concerns and all that sort of thing. So I bring a different flavor, I guess, to some of this than most other people do. Sorry if you hear, that's my daughter in the other room. This is a green screen studio. That's why you're seeing the images around me, all that sort of thing. And that's not let to manipulate. I think we all have understood, every weatherman uses a green screen in order to point out areas on a map, all that sort of thing behind them. I did not use any AI or artificial intelligence or large language models to do this sort of thing. So it might sound funny to some people, because I'm not trying to solve a problem. Some people are like, well, and then the AI issues is really big about trying to tell you what you should, or what the answer is. A lot of times people don't know what question they're solving for to even find an answer. So I find that when a guide comes along, that's what I call myself in both courses, the tour guide, is that we're trying to find out how to achieve a certain result. And a lot of times, because it's not a simple explanation, like what do you use to write on a piece of paper? Well, a pencil or a pen. You know what I mean? I don't, obviously finger paints could work, but we don't typically, that would be how to paint on. So we'd have to formulate the question in a certain way to get a certain answer when it comes to large language models or Google search, all that sort of thing. So I think that analogy kind of shows you that how do you take a road trip, a lot of times has so many different variabilities that you can't really do it in a search. And that's why I would really, really greatly appreciate, for one, monetarily, if you guys would buy the course, but it would help you out to have an extended teaching or learning session where I completely explore all of these different things. Like in the road trip course, I talk about insurance. Insurance is wild, and travel insurance is crazy sometimes. But depending on what insurance you have, it may not cover things while on a road trip. Something I discovered. And I have no idea what kind of insurance you have, so that's why I mention it. Where also I talk about in the road trip course, I would prefer you to always get a rental car. And I explore that for like an hour and 15 minutes. So the reason I can go on for an hour and 15 minutes is there's probably 2 or 3 hours in my head, and I'm getting it into that. The benefits of, and I go through the benefits of renting versus driving your own. And I talk about security. I talk about road games, I Spy, all that sort of thing. Some of these resources you'll print off, Rainbow Car. I make them age specific. I talk about some games that I learned about I didn't even know existed, and I put them in the course. I talk about what to do when you get a flat, you know what I mean? What to do when somebody breaks all your windows out and they can't find your car. I explain all of that sort of thing and more when it comes to the road trip course. Even some of the more philosophical concepts that happen, like whenever you want to not go home, or you change so much while you're on your road trip, you don't know how to really psychologically handle it. The road has a weird way of sort of pulling out something in you that is sort of almost animalistic, okay? I think truck drivers, they get this because they're on the road quite a bit, but they're sort of they're a different beast out there, if you see what I'm saying. I think part of our, kind of the Irish called them the rovers, the people that just couldn't stay home, they had to go out and search for this adventure and all that sort of thing. So I think, I guess the reason they put people in solitary confinement as sort of a big time punishment is because it sort of in us is this want, this drive to explore and get out there and see what's out there. And then we show you the Google tools and other Campendium, Road Tripper. We talk a lot about different variations of tools you have as a person that wants to take a road trip. Okay, some different things you can get on the computer and find that was going to help you big time. All right, when it comes to having the ability to take a road trip successfully. However, all of those things you're finding might be in direct confliction with other people in your group. Obviously, if you take your vegan vegetarian friend to an all-meat restaurant, they might not want to be in the room with, smelly meat. You see what I'm saying? So it'd be highly offensive. Also, who's running this road trip? The driver's not always the one that needs to be the one running the road trip. I talk about Waze. I talk about different apps on your phone so you can see traffic. I show that different, I link to a lot of pages showing you as far as construction projects in the future, because a lot of these things have to be funded, so they get passed, and then they have to get funded, then they get built. So you'll know that between these dates and these dates, this span of interstate might be closed because of a bridge or something. How to find that beforehand and then make an alternative route. Also, what happens when your itinerary gets spoiled because the outdoor place you were going to go to is under like severe thunderstorms. And then also, as far as looking within details of your particular place, there might be a water main break. You know what I mean? That you could have found out that morning just by looking up on their Facebook page versus their website. And so that you can get up-to-date information so that you can get your second and third choice. Yes, I always teach alternative itineraries to look at the menu beforehand so that you kind of know what you want even before you get there, okay? So whenever they read you the special, if it's like, oh, never mind, change my first thing, I want that now. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have to sit there and dig through menus trying to find something when you could have already known what was in it, what they were serving, what they're kind of known for. You don't want to order a burger at a barbecue place a lot of times. You know what I mean? You want to get the barbecue if you're going to a barbecue place. And, well, what kind of barbecue? That's another thing that I talk about in the road trip course and lightly touch on in the Ethridge course. It's just because we have some barbecue places here in Ethridge that people, well, they're rich, okay? We live just south of a few places where some of those people can take a helicopter down here and eat barbecue. I kid you not. They do it. Just look it up. All right. You'll find it. And when you do, you'll be like, oh my goodness, several people have. And it's a real cool place, Ethridge, Tennessee. So anyway, so I talk about how if you're going to be going to do this road trip thing, Tennessee barbecue, being that we have a Memphis sauce. There's only like 4 of them, you know what I mean, that they're kind of known for. We also have Memphis in May. And of course, as you go from Memphis to the Carolinas, that's where the Carolina sauce is, it's different. And we kind of hybridize as we go down. So if you're really wanting and you like that kind of cooking, then you can explore a lot of different places on your way while on your road trip. And I would hate to know that you got back home only to realize that some of the coolest stuff was on the way and you didn't see it. And now you feel like you got to go back because you got to go to those places. I want you to know that beforehand. Before you ever leave, you got a whole set of things that you could have found. And it's also fun with your team. If you do come from a long way off. Now, both of these 2 courses, I explain an open jaw flight. That's where you fly into one airport. Say, for example, you fly into Huntsville or you fly into Nashville and you rent a car from like Avis, Hertz, you know, one of those companies. And you're going to take that to, say, Huntsville, where you're going to fly back home. So you land, you rent a car, and then you drop your rental car off in another place where you're going to be departing. Okay, that's what I go through. I explain this. There's a whole lesson on these flights because there's a lot of people that come from, say, Phoenix, Los Angeles, San Francisco, say Denver. Denver's got a direct flight. I mean, a lot of places in Texas have a direct flight. And you say, I always wanted to. And then you fill in the blank with, go somewhere like Tennessee, where I can go to like Jack Daniels, and I can see the Amish, I can see the Rockets, I can see the Music City, and I can dance on the tables. And we'll get all party happy, and the next day we'll fly back home. How do I do that? And I'm like, that's where the road trip course really shines. It's like, yeah, but you just said airplane. Listen, when you land in an airplane, unless you're just going to stay next to the airport, you need a transportation method. That's either Uber or Lyft or something that's going to take you to a place, but then you can't go no further. However, if you rent a car and you get all your stuff in the car and your little group is in a car, well, then you're on a road trip. I'm sorry. There's no other way to define what you're doing. And I explain all of that in the road trip course. So I would love for you guys to entertain at least looking into both of these courses. But each one kind of has its target market because the Ethridge course is kind of geographical. We're going to basically draw like a 2 or 3 hour map or 2 or 3 hour zone from Ethridge. Okay, so we're going to draw a little circle. Now keep in mind within that circle is Memphis, and it's also Chattanooga, Nashville, and also Huntsville. So if you want to see anything within that range, it's only within 3 hours, okay? So that's going to give you a lot of variation that you could do just as a day trip from one of these places. So if you fly in, you're just as much on a road trip if you want to look at it that way. And I do approach the Ethridge course from that vantage point. If you're a local watching me, let's face it, it's irrelevant. If you're from if you're anything within driving distance, say less than an hour from here, you just need to come see us one day. I don't know why you'd spend your money on it unless you wanted to know the additional history, culture, myth busting, and stuff that I do with the Amish group. Okay, the Mennonites don't really have as much of that because they are more, like I said, inward and versus outward. You can always tell an Amish individual, all right. And some of the Mennonites do look like Amish individuals when it comes to their older orders. However, the Amish are a little bit more famous for it. Now, when you see me look at the computer, I'm going to be looking through the exact course you buy, okay? So when you do take either one of these courses, that's what's going to be, all right? You're going to find that when I start saying just below here is and I fill in the blank, whoops, all right, God, keep wanting to knock that globe off because it's right here in my way. But I'm going to be looking through the exact written sections of the course that you particularly bought, if you did see that, all right? So I'm not just doing the video irrespective of what's written, okay? I wrote every single word AI free. I just, out of my own head. That's why it'll probably be better than any other AI course, because I think AI is kind of silly, especially at the moment, you know what I mean? And it's not going to tell you how to take a good road course, and if it does, it probably stole it from me. It seems like that's what they're good for nowadays. It's just thievery. So I want to show you guys, as this computer sits here and it's looking through the course, you're seeing the exact same course I'm in whenever you take it. So the videos are not separate, they're in conjunction. It's almost as if I'm a college professor and I've got my lecture notes, you've got my lecture notes, we're all on the same page. So we're going to learn a good method or methodology behind learning is going to be in this almost classroom-like setting. So I hope if you like this kind of desk type setup with the green screen and all that sort of thing, the microphones are here. Some people, they think I have a lapel. No, it's actually two Neumann KM184s right above me. And as I see the teleprompter in front of this Blackmagic Cinema camera 6K, this is what it's going to look like. It's what it's going to be. When I record this, I edit everything. If you notice when I coughed a second ago, it just sort of toned down. That's where I just draw little dots, remove the volume a little bit. I don't edit things out. I don't know what else to talk about, so let's just talk about something. I don't know. Let me just push this out of the way and just talk right to the camera just for a second. We live in a world or at a time, for most of us, we all kind of have a hard drive built into our phone. We can collect all manner of videos and audio and photos and stuff of things. And that sort of like makes a mark on our, at least, digital life. And we're so sometimes caught up in digital life that we don't think about our analog life, things that we did before those were even invented. And in a lot of times, in a lot of places, we used to take these trips to make memories. And our memory was really good, and we'll sit back and remember whenever our family took a vacation or we went to a certain place. And I've got a lot of memories. But as I get older, those memories, due to the rapid pace of life, they're just harder to recall. And that's why I teach a thing called chronicling your vacation, to where whatever you do collect in here in the phone now is shared with each person. So, for example, there's a person here and a person here and a person beside me. That 4-person or however many people are with you, all of those photos and videos get sent to each other for that chronicling, because a lot of times I get this view, I get the person behind the camera, or if I take a selfie, all that sort of thing. But I don't get other people watching me, for example. And we like to take pictures and videos of each other. A lot of times you'll play tricks on your family and all that sort of thing. And you'll remember that time we were staying at that Holiday Inn, for example, and just, you fill in the story, don't you? Or that restaurant where they had that, like, spiciest chicken wings in the world or something. And if you eat the whole thing, you get all your meal for free, or the biggest burger and it comes out as big as this Amish hat. And you're like, oh no, yeah, remember, I was so full. I thought I was going to barf. And those are making your memories. And that's what I want to do, okay? The course sales will be whatever it is. I don't really mind that. I'm going to go on to my other courses after I do these anyway. And I want you to make those memories. Burn those memories onto the hard drive of your mind, and whatever you can chronicle with your camera or video thing of choice. That is going to be how I measure success. To me, it's not dollar amount. I have a pituitary brain tumor. I've already had heart surgery. I've had my legs ablate. It's just, if you watch my channels for a while, you see, even when I'm in the emergency rooms, I still make videos. Some people, they don't like that, but I do. I'm a real person, okay? And I want people to go and make those memories. See, if you don't go make them, they're never going to be there. And I don't want to live another person's life, you know what I mean, by me thinking I'm them, by living vicariously through their entertainment. I don't need a digital daddy, I don't need a miracle mama. I need me to go out and make the memories that I will hold dear, if that makes any sense. I hope it does. Put in the comments if this makes any sense to you. I think that all of us need to have our realistic self entertained with some form of travel, even if it's in your own neighborhood. All of these courses I make are relevant to our own localized area. However, you can explore your town or a neighboring town, or get in the car and just drive to another destination. And that's a little microcosm of what I'm talking about. You don't have to have the whole thing. At the same time, you don't have to go from, New York to San Francisco and do this big cross-country thing to find yourself or whatever. I think most of us know who we are right now. It's just that most of us want to go do something that's kind of fun, and you think I'm probably the only one. I can assure you, you're probably not. If you call your best friends and say, how about we do this? Well, what time of year? Well, we're thinking this time of year, fill in the blank. We'll go to Destin, Florida. We'll go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We'll go to Wisconsin Dells, it's another awesome place. And we're going to see, and then you'll fill in the blank. And I imagine most of your best friends, or people that know you the best, would probably get on board with that. And then you'll say, well, how do I achieve that? Well, that's where the road trip course will come in. And I want to see those stories that you guys have, because you don't have to go see the plain communities in Tennessee. You can use that as a template for the rest of your life, okay? Because I believe good information is in there. It just happens to be that if you really want to see the Amish and Mennonite people somewhere, well, that's a different story, okay? Mine happens to be of the Tennessee communities. Throughout the rest of the country, some communities aren't really friendly to English coming to see them. They call the English pretty much anybody that's not of their Anabaptist tradition. So when you get the two kingdoms approach, they're in the kingdom of God, then there's sort of this kingdom or dimension of the world, and happens to be that we're all English speaking. You could be Japanese and still the English, which means the world to the Anabaptist groups. So I explain that in both courses, especially the Amish course. So, but I want to measure success not on how much dollars this thing makes, is how many memories that are created. If I had to put the X factor, X in algebra, X equals, and that'd be the amount of emails that I get that are explaining how I took your course and I went on this vacation and it was amazing. Not everything worked out exactly as planned, as they never do, but I'm glad I made an alternative itinerary, like you said, because it rained the day we were going to, fill in the blank. I want that to be my measure of success. I just do. I love it. I like to see especially families travel, all that sort of thing. So I think with either course that I'm making or I have out at the moment, those two have the most travel focus to them. So, and that's why I talk about them the way I do. And I would love, no matter where you're at in the world or on YouTube here, if you decided to get these courses and then explore them, learn, and then act on what you've now learned, I believe that would be a really good life enhancement. Okay? Because at the end of it, if we didn't go make those memories, we're not going to have them in our heads. All right? So that's what I'm going to leave you with. If you go, most people end this sort of thing with, please like and subscribe. I'm not going to say that at all, even though I just did, kind of. I want you to go explore these courses, of course, but at the same time, think about making memories. What does that mean to you? What kind of memories at the end of your life do you want it to have in your head? If it's nothing but the political negativity that you're seeing all the time, if it isn't for worrying about what coup is coming to your town or all that sort of thing, and then you're nervous about the future, that's always going to be the case. I do agree. But what kind of memories would you like to have that you can do, that's in your grasp, that's in your ability, within your sort of sphere of influence? Something that even if you do it yourself, you and your dog or whatever, just took off and hit the open road. And then you went to somewhere that you would call a destination, and that would have a life enhancement to you. So, as long as it's not something diabolical, don't get me wrong, or illegal, try to entertain those kind of thoughts. Write yourself a note, put it on something like the refrigerator so you see it a lot, the bathroom mirror, and start asking yourself the right questions, because usually questions lead to answers. Answers go into solutions. Solutions have certain attributes and options. Once you explore the options, you can have a certain final sort of list of things that can go into the criteria by which you judge your trip. And I would just love for you guys to do that. And it'll be different within everybody, but I want one that makes you, okay? You, the viewer. So I'm going to end this video at this moment, and I would love for you guys to check out some of our things, okay? So be sure to look down into the written section where I'll link some of these pages if you would like to know more about them. But it's not to do as much to do with me. I want it to be all about you guys, the viewers, what makes your life special, what makes you tick, if you will, when it comes to travel. Anyway, hopefully I'll see you in another video just like this one. All right, this is Mike, and I'm out of here.